So I want an updated wardrobe, but I don't want to buy anything. So let me show you how I mended and also altered some of my clothes to give them new life, but also be within budget. Some of these I'm just like fixing up old pieces because they have ripped or broken somehow, but some of them I'm also flipping to look entirely different. These are all still perfectly good items that I want to wear and get more use out of, but they either don't fit me in some way or have been damaged. So I'm just gonna use this video to mend all of them. So first up is actually a pair of shoes. I got these on Depop a while ago, but the sole completely detached from the platform. So I just mended that with some shoe glue after scrubbing everything down. And it was my first time using shoe glue, but it worked really well. I'd recommend. The first thing is super easy. It's this top right here that I got at a little boutique in Capitola. I think it was like one of those drop shipping boutiques, I'm not gonna lie, but it's still cute. But some of the stitches around the top have come loose, so the elastic is getting exposed, and I just want to sew that now before it gets any worse. That was definitely not the neatest stitches of my life, but it's all done. So next up was this pair of pajama pants, and I just didn't like how they were elasticized at the ankle. I just don't like it when pants cuff like that, but they were otherwise in good shape, so I just seam ripped the bottom hem and removed the elastic, and then I just re-hemmed it without any elastic. One leg done. My stitches are not getting any less janky. Yeah, for some reason throughout this entire video, the thread tension was incorrect. This bag I carried around all of Barcelona for like 6 weeks. And she's good quality, but she got a little rough after that. So I just have to trim these threads, and this pocket is coming undone where the zipper is. So I'm gonna hand sew all that. I definitely did not do that correctly, but I did it. Hell yeah. Before is not too bad, but they are a bit too long, and they're skinny jeans, which I'm not rocking with. They're also a little bit loose, like just in general, but I don't think I'm gonna do anything about that. I'll just like wear a belt. I'm just gonna start by marking where I want the flare to start, which I think will be around here, because I'm not going for a bell bottom, I'm going for more of a boot cut. So I marked the same on both legs. Now I'm just gonna cut the bottoms, but leave a 1/2 inch of seam allowance, so a 1/2 inch longer than I actually want the pant to end. The whole reason I thrifted these pants is because I know I like this brand, and I have a 29 that's like the perfect jean on me. Absolute fits like a dream. It's my favorite pair of jeans. So I thought, okay, 28, that'll maybe be a little bit tight, but it'll still fit me, it'll still be cute. Tell me why the 28, which is, you know, 1 inch supposedly smaller than a 29, fits loose. Now I'm just gonna seam rip to a little past where I marked. Usually I feel like my projects are a bit of a hear me out, but even just in this stage, I can tell this is going to eat. I am so excited. I cut a bit of lace to be a bit longer than the gap I needed, and now I'm going to sew 2 pieces together because it's not wide enough on its own. After attaching them, I cut them into triangles. I then attached each piece of lace right sides together to one side of the cut. I'm having a hard time explaining this because I filmed so little of it, but I will link a tutorial down below if you are trying to make some flares. So here I'm just pinning the opposite side of the lace down to the other side of the slit of the jeans, and I just had to turn the pants inside out for that. But yeah, that's what it looks like all pinned. Very nice. I could tell this was gonna turn out well. I haven't hemmed them yet, but this is the progress. I think it's really cute. The top where I sewed the 2 layers together fully, a little bit puffy, a little bit weird, but I am not about to get the seam ripper. And I'm also scared to seam rip around the lace because I feel like the lace is just gonna get destroyed. So L for that, but It's still cute. But before I hemmed anything, I wanted to use the last of my white thread to just quickly zigzag stitch all of the inner seams to make sure everything was super secure and to protect the lace. And I don't have a serger, so this was the best way to do that. Can I make it? Can I make it? I did make it. Hell yes. These are so sick. I definitely need to like iron it, but I don't have an iron, and I also am scared that this polyester lace will just melt. So that's a problem for like future me, but wow, wow, wow. These turned out so cute. Compliment me, please. Whee! Next up, I was planning to turn this tank top into a halter top. This was actually a dress from my roommate, but I turned the bottom portion into a tube top for her, and then I had free range over the tank top part. So I started by just cutting through the back layer from armpit to armpit, which left us with already this quite halter looking shape. All the edges were done with what seems like bias tape, so I'm just having to go in and seam rip this first edge and then seam rip it again to get everything clean slate. Yes. Wow, look at all those raw edges. I used my roommate's straightening iron to iron out all the raw edges because I don't have a real iron at my apartment. This is a running theme. And then I also just sewed together the two halter strap pieces so I could create the full circle around the neck. And you can see in this clip the pins I put on the edges of the fabric. I just ironed it once, folded it over yet again, pinned it, and then ironed it again, so there was a fold over hem. And this is how that turned out once I'd stitched it. And it was a very crepey fabric, and that's why I had to be so serious with the ironing. Usually, I can't lie, I wouldn't go through this trouble. Okay, just from the try on, I know I need to take the neckline lower and then also take in the sides. And I'm gonna do that before I hem this, obviously. So probably like a couple inches down. So I just put it on my mannequin to see what needs to be altered better. I cut a deeper neckline, but this needs to be taken in. I just temporarily pinned the center scrunch. It is already 11:30, so I think I'm just gonna go to bed. I'm working on it a little bit each day, so this is like the third day I've worked on this. It should not be taking this long, but so far it's cute. She cute. Now this next part is just blatant propaganda for learning how to mend your own clothes, because while I was biking for the first time in probably 3 years, I ripped my pants. My favorite pants, are you kidding me? I got these in Japan. But luckily I was able to just trim away the excess threads, sew it up by hand very carefully using an invisible stitch, and you can barely see the seam. It's a little bit visible if you look closely, but not bad. I think I mended it pretty well. Now back to that shirt, I just tacked the middle ruche in place permanently with some hand stitches. And after also hemming the neckline, it was time to take in the sides. I was debating whether or not to keep the cowl look in the back, but I ultimately decided that taking in the sides would look a lot better. So I like everything about this dress, except for the fact that the straps are made of ribbon, so it's fraying incredibly easy. I don't know if you can tell on that one side, but this side, for example, it's almost completely falling off. So I'm gonna tack them back on and try to figure out a way to get the straps to not fray again. Good thing the straps were a little too long to begin with. So it originally was like that, just sewed on the inside like that, and it's fraying. So I'm first sewing it down across here. I'm gonna flip it back up and sew it one more time across here. And honestly, since this fabric is so black, using black thread, like, you can't really see it, even though I didn't really get it on the stitching line. I don't know how to prevent this from fraying though, because it's literally just a ribbon. I'm not really sure how I can prevent this from happening again in future. Maybe I'll just try to be really careful when I wash it, just like hand wash it. Not sure. I can't believe this didn't come with the ribbons sealed, like the edges sealed, because I knew this wasn't a natural fiber. I knew it would just melt. So I just repeated this for all the ribbons and all of the areas I had sewn, just in hopes of sealing the ribbon better and hoping it won't fray again. I'm also going to be very careful while washing it. So this is what the shirt looks like before. It says, "Tequila makes my clothes fall off." I'm using this baby tee I already have and like the fit of as my template. And yes, it is a children's shirt, okay? We don't have to talk about it. But I'm gonna start with cutting off the sleeves completely first, because I know I'm gonna have to rework the entire shape. The smart thing would be make a pattern of this shirt, but I'm not doing the smart thing. So I cut around all of the shirt and opened it up. Now taking these sleeve pieces, I'm just gonna put this right sides together and pin all around the curve right here. And also, this design is a little bit off center. That's not how I cut it. That's genuinely how it was applied. I somehow have like exact matching thread. Amazing. I sewed the sleeves on. Sweet. Now just flipping everything inside out, lining up the sides. I'm going to pin and sew all along under the sleeve and then down the side as well. I hope this gave you some ideas for your wardrobe so you can save your wallet and also join the fight against consumerism. Here's to fixing things and mending things instead of spending. And with that, it's finally time for the grand reveals.